Well, howdy, everybody. This is James, and welcome to the Monday morning tour at the ranch, at Dunrovin Ranch in Lolo, Montana. It's been a busy weekend here at the ranch, and we've got a lot to catch up on. You can see we've got the ranch cam back up and running, its normal position back on the pole. We had a couple issues with this camera. Last week it went offline, and then we also had to pivot to using a camera in our arena that's a little bit closer to the ground, and so we don't get the views we're normally used to seeing. We also had a lot of work to do on the nest. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour this morning of what we did, how we did it, and you'll want to watch for tomorrow's newsletter because we're going to detail a few more things that happened this week, possibly some videos and certainly some pictures that we had. So I'm going to go ahead and go off screen and give you a view of the cameras and show you around. For those of you that might be new here, my name is James Wassam. I'm the tech wrangler here at Dunrovin and manage all the technology stuff and some of the infrastructure that helps make all of this live streaming possible. So lots of details to dig into. So let's go ahead and move right along. All right, so what we're looking at right now is the ranch view from the ranch cam. And we actually put it's not a brand new camera, but it was a used camera that we've had, and we're able to put this up on the ranch pole, get our views back from here. And what you're seeing right now is that normal view that we're used to. We were able to do a slight upgrade on this camera, give us a little enhancement on the controls, and otherwise it's about the same as what we were used to. What is different is we had to fix some connections. We had some flooded connections. So some things in the water under the pole got water in them, and we had to go ahead and fix all of that stuff, get it back up and running, change a few things on the camera, and make some enhancements. So we have full control over this camera now, once again, and we're really thrilled about that. What you might have noticed is that while we were down with the ranch cam, we were using a different camera, and that's our arena camera down here. It's actually located on this pole. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. You can kind of see it through the trees there. There's kind of a bundle of wires and stuff. You just barely make out the dome of that camera. I'm going to switch to that camera now just so you can see kind of what we were dealing with. And here is a view of that camera, or from that camera. And right now it's looking up at the nest, but last week, if you had tuned in, you would have seen just this kind of normal view from almost ground level. It sits about 10 feet in the air or so, and you would have seen all this stuff from here. So yeah, definitely a different perspective than we're used to, and we don't always get the we're not always getting the perfect views that we like, kind of the bird's eye view, if you will. And so it was nice to be able to have this as a backup, but it's very nice to have our ranch camera back up and running. So that's kind of what we were used to dealing with in the last week or so. We still like using this camera for a lot of close-up stuff and demonstrations at the tack rail and some other things in the arena. But we definitely love our pole-mounted cameras. So I'm going to go ahead and point this up. I kind of gave away a little bit of what we're going to be talking about today, but if I zoom in up here at the nest, you will notice we have an interesting and new eye in the sky. So we did a lot of work this weekend at the nest, and right now it's kind of a gray and overcast day, but this weekend was just beautiful, and you'll see some pictures of it in the newsletter tomorrow. Just Bluebird Day, we were able to get a lot of work done on the Nest, and you can see, let's see if I can pivot up, there's a new camera up there. It looks a lot different than our other cameras. This is a brand new camera for us at Dunrovin. It's a new type of camera, and it provides a lot of different features that we didn't have before on the Nest. And I'm going to see how far up I can pivot here. This view gives a nice view of that camera. So we'll see if we can fine tune the focus on this a little bit. It is a long ways away. So basically, we were able to put in a new support system. We were able to, get this new camera put up there. We had to reinforce the bracing on it because this new camera is quite a bit heavier than the previous one. The previous camera was maybe about 7 pounds. This one's close to 20 pounds. So it has a different feature. It stands upright, and it has these arms that kind of tilt forward. And it's also got these lights up on top. Those are infrared illuminators. We also have white light illuminators, so we could turn on basically like a big flashlight on top of the camera, and we would be able to see color if we wanted to. We normally stick with infrared. We can see in black and white at night that way, but that's kind of how we normally do that. And then you'll see a camera right below that Nest camera, the main big one there, and that's our backup camera. That's what we've been using since November when the main camera went offline. So it's been really tough trying to kind of get by without a movable camera on that location. Now I'm going to switch us back to the ranch camera. Let's see if I can center us up here. There we go. And here we go. I've got the Nest pole centered there in the view, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this. And we're just going to see what we can see from the ranch cam side of things. So, and I'll take you in even closer. So we'll stick with me here. All right. So you can see we've got the pole up here. We've got the new camera, which is gray. I chose a gray camera for this so that it would kind of blend in with the background a little bit more and not stick out. White can kind of stick out quite a bit. Black against any sort of a muted background can stick out a little bit. So we went with a gray toned camera just to kind of help it blend in a little bit more. So we've got that infrastructure in place. You can see in the very middle of the screen, we've got the backup camera. Down below that backup camera, we've got an infrared light. That light has been with us almost since the beginning. It's been definitely part of our system for a long time. And then down below, right behind that goose, which I'll explain in a minute, you see some green fuzzy stuff kind of in the background there. What that is those are our two microphones. The top one is a backup microphone, and the bottom one is our primary microphone. It's kind of funny. It's got a funnel on it to kind of help focus the sound on the Nest. And then that green stuff is it's a type of fiber insulation, very coarse fiber, kind of like you'd use for your heating and cooling system vents. And that is used to block the wind noise. So it works pretty well. But from this view, you can actually see the camera very well. You can see those lights on top of the camera. And if you look closely, you might even be able to see a little windshield wiper there right below the visor of the camera, which is something very new to us. We've never had something like that. So it's pretty cool. So that allows it, if it gets moisture on it, we can just run the windshield wiper and clean it up. So pretty cool. I did put some what's called bird be gone, or these little plastic spikes on top of the headlights up there, the infrared lights, so that birds don't land and try to sit on top of the camera. So that's kind of how that works. So let's go ahead and pop down here And let's see what we can see here with this goose. What is this goose doing on the nest? Well, there's a story about this goose, and I think Suzanne may have described it in a little more detail in a previous broadcast. If not, we'll talk about it a little bit more in the coming days. But we put a goose decoy up there. Let me go ahead and show you. Here's a view of our backup webcam, and this is the camera we've been viewing through for a while now. But we've got this goose decoy mounted to a board, and that decoy is there for a very important reason. A few years ago, we had a Canada goose land on the nest, and it laid an egg, and it was keeping Harriet off of the nest, our beloved osprey. She was unable to take to the nest. She finally was able to get the goose to leave, I think, but the goose had already laid an egg. And so it was, Harriet didn't know what to do with that egg. So we ended up coming up with the idea. I think Suzanne and Sterling put two and two together, and we're like, well, let's put a goose up there. So we've been putting this goose up there for a while. I think this is at least the third or fourth year. And so we've been doing that for a bit, and it's worked out pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and take you to the view of our brand new Nest camera. Here we go. And this is the view you get from our new Nest camera. And you can see I'm moving this camera here, and I'm going to go ahead and see if I can zoom in on the goose. You can see we've got this goose here, and it's mounted on the board. It's tied down with ropes down to the bottom of the pole, and that way we can loosen those ropes, and then we can go ahead and actually, pull the goose down. And this goose is not going to be up there for very long. We're gonna have this up there for, oh gosh, maybe a week. We expect the ospreys to start returning and being seen at the nest sometime in the next 10 days. They typically show up late March or very early in April. So the countdown has started. Please get on chat and go ahead and put in your bets for when we'll see Harriet. Harriet almost always returns first. I think she's always returned first. She's always beat the male back to the nest. But we'll be removing this goose at least a couple days in advance of when we expect her to be there. You can see already we've got some little birds in the nest here. They're making homes in the little bird condos. So, and they continue to hang out there on the nest. Even with the ospreys, and they make their home there. So, we're gonna be able to see them and get right up close and personal with them. We've still got a lot of work to do with this camera. We've got a lot of settings to fine tune, and we've got some colors to adjust, kind of help bring in a little more brilliance. We've got a few things to really dig into and help optimize these cameras, but so far the quality of the view is pretty exceptional. And what's really stunning is our ability to do something we've never been able to do here. And let me show you what that is. Watch closely now. Keep watching. Keep watching. We can now look almost straight up into the sky. And that allows us to track birds as they're flying around. We can track the sun and the moon if we wanted to. We can even see up here to the top of the mountain and track some of the wild horses that are at the top. And we've never really been able to do it like we can with this camera. Now you're seeing as we get zoomed in really far, we're starting to get a little bit blurry, and and then it comes into focus. So we can do a lot more with this camera than we used to be able to do. And of course, as there I go for a ride here. Sorry about that, making you dizzy. We can come in here and get really up close, closer than we really should be getting. I'm on a remote control connection and it's zooming in digitally for me here. So we're getting a lot of artifacts coming into play. And of course, the tighter we zoom in, the more wobbly that picture gets, because we are mounted on a pole and it does move around. And so we've got some image stabilization we have to do there. So anyway, that's kind of a really cool feature of this camera. We're able to get some exceptional views close up, but also very far in the distance, and we're able to track the osprey. Let's go back to the ranch cam, and you can see another view of that. So yeah, definitely a lot of work this weekend. I was up on a boom lift, and again, you'll see some of these pictures here in a little bit. But here's what Suzanne calls a big boy toy. I don't feel like a big boy. I feel like a little boy when I'm playing on one of these. It's a lot of fun. And if I would have known these existed when I was playing in the sandbox, I don't think I would have played with any other toy. But these are pretty fun. So we get these from the local rental store. You can call it it's called a boom lift, or an articulating boom lift. It has a basket on the front with all these controls on it, and we can move that around and access. This one I think is 60 or 65 feet. So we get to access up to the nest and do a lot of work, and it's a very stable platform to work on. 4-wheel drive, so it could go just about anywhere. And really great machine. They're pretty expensive machines, so we just rent these and get them from a local company in Missoula. Mom's Rentals stands for Metalworks of Montana, is what Mom stands for. But we've been grateful for them. We've been grateful to some of the other local stores and hardware suppliers for just having the parts and pieces we need to pull this all together. Now, again, some of you that are new here may be wondering what's going on in the background with that big dirt pile. Well, they're building a new school for the Lolo School District. I think it's an elementary and a high school. And we'll be keeping track of that over the coming months. I mean, they've been at it for a while. I'm going to go ahead and switch views. We're going to go back to the nest view, and let's go ahead and pivot this camera around and see what it looks like over there at the school. You'll be able to see some of the progress out there in the coming months, and I'm sure you'll get some more virtual tours coming around of you can take some screenshots and do some time lapse of how the construction is working. They've actually made pretty good progress. Their shell, or the envelope of the building is almost done, I think, and they're starting to put some of the finishes on there. I would guess they'll be what's called dried in. If they're not dried in already with all the doors and windows, they will be soon. But they've got a lot of machinery over there, and they're working really hard. You will hear noise coming from the construction site. So there's a lot of dirt work and a lot of other stuff happening last summer. And, we were able to, hear that on the Nest microphones. So, it is something we have to be mindful of. You are going to notice it, but it doesn't seem to impact the birds at all. So the ospreys don't seem to have a problem with it. And you can see with this camera, we can get really up close and personal views. We can track what's going on over there and see a lot more than we used to with the other camera. Another cool thing to check out here is something else happened this weekend, and that was that we moved 3 horses over to the pasture next door. Now, I think, they're still over here. So there they are. We'll zoom in over there, and this will be something else you'll be able to see. This is part of the pasture we used to have as our winter pasture for several years that we rented from or leased from the Lolo School District. We didn't get to have our horses over there this last year because of all the school construction and everything, but we were able to get water over here. Matt and Lexi working to get water over here, and we've got 3 horses, and they're hanging out over there in that southern, or I guess it'd be the eastern half of the school property that we still have access to. So you'll be able to see them hanging out over there. They've got some hay, and you'll see Matt headed over there to do some feeding and chores, probably twice a day, I'd imagine. So really cool to be able to continue to see some horses over there. So we'll continue to have access to this for a little while, but we'll see how all that goes. All right, I'm going to zoom back out here. And yeah, that's a little bit of a tour of what we did here this weekend. Let's see here. Whoa. Yeah, I'm still getting used to the controls on this camera. I'm going to do some work to slow down the controls so we don't over control it or over speed the camera. We do have some plans later this year. We're going to be doing some work with other cameras around the ranch. We're going to upgrade our river camera to be the same type of camera that this Nest Cam is. So we'll get farther reach and better visibility and easier control with that camera. And we also have something out here that you may have seen, and I know Suzanne's written about it a little bit, but we'll be explaining this one a little bit more. You can see a box on a couple posts hanging up, and that is a bat box. And so we're going to try to get a camera focused on that box. Probably the camera, I guess, I'm trying to figure out where the best place to put that camera is going to be. It may be at the kind of that side of the fence there, closer to those trees and pointed towards this bat box, or maybe somewhere else. We're trying to figure out the best location, but we're going to try to get a camera on this box so we can see bats, hopefully coming and going from that location. So be on the lookout for that as we get closer to summer. I'll be doing a little bit of work down at the river, be doing a little bit of work at the bench bird feeding station. And yeah, there's never a shortage of things to do. So we're going to continue working on all this stuff. So let's see here if I can go back. There's our home screen. So I've got this back on there, and we're going to go back to the ranch camera and bring us back. Here we are back at the ranch, and Nicole's been running around out there doing some chores and feeding. She's probably about done by now, I guess. But you've got our view of the herd out here, and just feel free to hang out and just enjoy the morning with us. But thank you for going along on a little tour. I hope you enjoyed the updates on our new cameras, and I hope you stick around and enjoy watching the ospreys as they come back, hopefully in the next week or two. Right now, you may be on the website and notice that the Nest live stream channel is not operational right now. That is because we did a reboot last night and a Windows update, and the computer became unresponsive. Or not responding the way it should have. So we may need to get a new computer there. I'm working on a solution for that right now. So sorry for the inconvenience on the Nest Cam. We'll bring that back up as soon as we can and get that live. In the meantime, continue to join us on the Ranch Cam and the Bench Cam and the River Cam. So anyway, yeah, really appreciate you guys tuning in, and we will look forward to doing another ranch tour next week. So have a great day, everybody, and we will talk to you later. So long.